Welcome back to the goods. BasketballNews.com, basketball news on YouTube. Bryan Fonseca NY on social media. Third time we're doing this. The first time we talked about why there should be playoff awards and really all NBA in the postseason. And then the NBA went ahead and made more playoff awards, though not what we asked for, but close enough. Then the second time we talked about why depth matters in the postseason, and we're seeing that play out as we speak. So this third time, we're going to talk about the best NBA teams never to make an NBA Finals, a top 5 in no particular order, with some honorable mentions. The first team, the 1990-1991 Portland Trail Blazers, coached by Rick Adelman, went 63-19, the best record in the NBA. Were top 3 in net rating, offensive rating, defensive rating, and scoring throughout the course of that season. They lost to the Lakers in the 1991 NBA playoffs, and that was the year that Michael Jordan won his first ring, beating the Lakers, beating Magic Johnson in what was his last NBA season for a while. The playoff rotation for the Blazers included Clyde Drexler, Terry Porter, Jerome Kersey, Buck Williams, Kevin Duckworth, Cliff Robinson, and Danny Ainge. A really good roster. 2 players in the top 10 in MVP voting in Porter and Clyde Drexler. No other team in the league had that. Buck Williams was tied with Hakeem Olajuwon in 5th place for Defensive Player of the Year. And Danny Ainge was 5th in 6th Man of the Year voting. Fun fact, Drazen Petrovic was on that team and barely played. That's how good and how deep that team was at the time. They did go to the NBA Finals the next year, but fell short to Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls. But nonetheless, one of the best Portland Trail Blazers teams we've ever seen, and the start of a nice little run there in the early 90s. Next up in order here, the 2001-2002 Sacramento Kings. This is going to trigger a lot of people, so be warned. 61-21 during that season, the only 60-win team in the NBA that season, also coached by Rick Adelman. Hell of a run he had, obviously. Best net rating in the league, 2nd in scoring, 3rd in offensive rating, 6th in defensive rating. Lost to the Lakers in 7 games. In the Western Conference Finals, shenanigans. We'll leave it at that. Playoff rotation included Chris Webber, Mike Bibby, Peja Stojakovic, Doug Christie, Vlade Divac, Hedo Turkoglu, Bobby Jackson, Scott Pollard, and they had a young player on their team named Gerald Wallace, who turned out to be pretty damn good, who wasn't quite playing much yet. Peja Stojakovic was 2nd in most improved player voting that season. Chris Webber, his best season, was 4th in MVP voting. Bobby Jackson was 4th in 6th Man of the Year voting. And Doug Christie was 4th in Defensive Player of the Year voting. Webber was also first team All-NBA. The 2002-2003 Dallas Mavericks, who were 60-22, led by Don Nelson, tied for the best record in the NBA with the team who beat them in the Western Conference Finals, the San Antonio Spurs. This Mavs team was 1st in net rating, 1st in scoring and offensive rating, while also just 7th in pace and a top 10 defensive rating. Playoff rotation included Dirk Nowitzki, Steve Nash, Michael Finley, Rafe LaFrentz, Nick Van Exel, who was great in the playoffs, Eduardo Nájera, Raja Bell, Walt Williams, and Sean Bradley. Most of their best guys were at or around their peaks. Dirk Nowitzki and Steve Nash were both All-NBA that season. Nick Van Exel 4th in 6th Man of the Year voting. This was the best Dallas Mavericks team ever at the time. Still probably in their top 3 or 4, depending on how you feel about the 2021-2022 Dallas Mavericks. And they definitely would have beaten the New Jersey Nets in the finals, if we're being honest too. Next up, the 2012-2013 Oklahoma City Thunder. Again, there's another Thunder team out there that some of y'all may have put in here over these guys, but this was a great team as well. 60-22, only 60-win team in the Western Conference that season. Scott Brooks was their head coach. They were 1st in net rating and offensive rating, 3rd in scoring, 4th in defensive rating, 10th in fewest points allowed. So just all-around great team. Lost to the Memphis Grizzlies in the conference semifinals in 5 games. If you remember, Russell Westbrook was hurt very early in round 1 and out for the rest of the playoffs, so they had to overcome that, and they failed to do so, but their playoff rotation was damn good nonetheless. Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, Serge Ibaka, Reggie Jackson, who had to step up in Russell Westbrook's absence, Kevin Martin, Thabo Sefolosha, Derek Fisher, Kendrick Perkins, however you feel about him now, he was good at the time, and Nick Collison. Now, Durant was 2nd in MVP voting, right behind LeBron James and ahead of Carmelo Anthony. Russ was 9th, 2 guys in the top 10. Serge Ibaka was 3rd in Defensive Player of the Year voting. Kevin Martin 4th for 6th Man of the Year voting. Durant was first team All-NBA. Russell Westbrook was second team All-NBA. Now, before we get to our last team, let's get to some honorable mentions. First, the 2004-2005 Phoenix Suns, led by Mike D'Antoni, also by Steve Nash, Amari Stoudemire, Sean Marion, Quentin Richardson, and Joe Johnson, among many others. In 2005-2006, we have two teams coming from that same season. One, the Detroit Pistons, who won 64 times that year with a lot of the same core from the 03-04 championship winning team. Ben Wallace, Chauncey Billups, Tayshaun Prince, Rip Hamilton, Rasheed Wallace, Flip Saunders leading the way there, not Larry Brown. And that same season again, the San Antonio Spurs, led by who else? Greg Popovich, with a 63-win team, including Tony Parker, Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, Bruce Bowen, Michael Finley, back on one of these great teams. And in 2010-2011, we have the Derrick Rose-led Chicago Bulls. Remember, he won MVP that year with Tom Thibodeau, and they also had Luol Deng, Carlos Boozer, and a guy named Joakim Noah, who once won Defensive Player of the Year, so damn good team there as well. Last up, but not least, the 2015-2016 San Antonio Spurs, who went 67-15 in the regular season, second only to the Golden State Warriors, who won 73 games that year, led by Greg Popovich. First in net rating, first in defensive rating, and in defense in general. Fourth in offensive rating, top 10 in scoring. Lost to Oklahoma City in the Western Conference semifinals, and then the next year they went back deep into the playoffs and lost to Golden State in the conference finals. Unfortunately, their playoff rotation included Kawhi Leonard, LaMarcus Aldridge, Danny Green, Tony Parker, Tim Duncan, who was in his last season, Manu Ginobili, Boris Diaw, David West, Patty Mills, and slow-mo Kyle Anderson. Kawhi won Defensive Player of the Year, second in MVP voting, was first team All-NBA. LaMarcus Aldridge also had a really good season, was third team All-NBA. Now, none of y'all will fully agree, so please let us know. Like, comment, subscribe, share, etc., etc. But be respectful if you're gonna comment and spark up a little debate. These are fun conversations, so we can have some fun while talking about this stuff. It's just basketball after all. So be sure to check out basketballnews.com and check us out right here on YouTube. Check me out at Bryan Fonseca NY on Twitter and Bryan Fonseca on basketballnews.com and a bunch of other platforms. We'll be back with more very soon. Take care. Thank you for watching.